possible to produce while you sleep. How? The answer lies in learning to truly rest, to enjoy peace, not just when you wake up, but when you go to sleep as well. If you go to bed in peace, you'll wake up like a rocket, ready to act. But if you go to bed troubled, you'll wake up tired, drained. Want a simple practice to start with? Before lying down, smile. Just smile. It might seem silly, but it transforms your mental state. I've been doing this for 14 years. When I go to bed, I turn to the side and think of something funny. Sometimes I even laugh out loud before drifting off. When I wake up, my body's first reaction is to smile. Even on days when I'm angry, that involuntary smile changes everything. It's as if the last gesture before sleep programs the energy you wake up with. Sleeping isn't just about recharging your batteries. It's a time to produce, to dream, to receive visions, and to find peace. Now let me explain something important. Results heal. It's useless to take all these tips, apply them, and not seek results. The cure for many fears and insecurities lies in the results you achieve. And honestly, you wouldn't be here listening to me if I were just some guy driving a 1987 Chevette. Nothing against the Chevette, but people follow those who have results, who have reached where they want to go. So what did you come here to learn? How to achieve results, how to dominate a space and rule within it. Here's the key: self-governance. Write down that phrase. Self-governance means ruling over yourself, having control over your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions. It's self-mastery that enables you to achieve anything. Let me share a personal story. I was shopping for furniture for my house at one of the most expensive stores in São Paulo. Right next door was a Ferrari dealership. While my wife was in the furniture store, I stood outside the Ferrari showroom, looking through the window. And do you know what happened? I couldn't go in. My feet froze. It was fear speaking again. I paced back and forth, staring at those Ferraris, some costing over 3 million reais, and kept asking myself, why can't I go in? It was a ridiculous fear, but it was there, the feeling that I didn't belong in that place, that it wasn't for me. After pacing back and forth almost in tears, I gave up and went into the furniture store. I spent what I needed there, but the fear of stepping into the Ferrari showroom stayed with me. It was one of the most inexplicable fears I've ever experienced, but it taught me something important. Sometimes fear doesn't make sense. It just appears, and it's up to you to face it. After that episode at the Ferrari dealership, I left feeling strange, like the showroom was my enemy. I went home and took a shower, because honestly, some of the biggest breakthroughs in my life have either happened inside a car or while I was in the shower. As the water fell, I began to reflect. Where did that feeling come from? Why is Ferrari such a problem in my head? That's when I remembered a conversation I had when I was 16. A friend told me about a famous singer from Goiás who wanted to buy a Ferrari but couldn't because the brand wouldn't sell the car to him directly. They said he didn't have an important enough name, so he could only purchase a used Ferrari. At that moment, without realizing it, that story planted a limiting belief in my mind. When I returned to the store later to pick out more furniture, I stood at the Ferrari showroom door and said to myself, I don't care about you. From that point on, my relationship with that fear began to change. Eventually, I bought a Ferrari. But do you know what happened when I finally owned one? I realized it wasn't anything special. I called my kids over and said, let's take this car apart. We started dismantling it piece by piece to understand what was so extraordinary about it. Today, 30% of the Ferrari is disassembled in my garage. Do you know what I discovered? It's just a car. The magic disappeared, and with it, so did the fear. This taught me something powerful. As long as your body isn't glorified, you'll always face blocks. But the key is to break through them as quickly as possible. The faster you confront and resolve those barriers, the faster you'll move forward. Sometimes it's small things. Other times it's like an entire highway of blockages you need to clear. Think of it like removing lice, one by one, until they're all gone. Now understand, this isn't about cars, houses, or anything material. It's about you governing your own life. When you see yourself as smaller than a car, a job, or even a college degree, you limit yourself. But when you understand that you were made in the image and likeness of God, everything changes. This doesn't mean undervaluing others, but rather recognizing the value He placed in you. That recognition destroys fear. I remember another principle that changed my life. I don't care about my reputation. Do you know what keeps many people trapped in fear? Worrying about what others think. But I decided to play what I call the game of fruits, and that reduced my fear by half. What is the game of fruits? It's living focused on the results that last. When you do what you were born to do, People might criticize you for a year or two, but eventually they come back because your fruits speak for themselves. You don't need to please everyone, nor sit at every table. When I realized this, my life became much lighter. There are tables where people profess things that go against my principles. Why force myself to be there? The game of fruits teaches that even your enemies will recognize your results and eventually come to you. It's not about being at the best tables, but about doing what you were called to do. Let me share something with you. One of the best feelings in life is when an enemy apologizes. It's liberating. Do you know why 2021 was one of the most transformative years for me? Because even though it was my worst year in many aspects, I resolved more relationship issues during that period than ever before, one after the other. And the most interesting part? I didn't have to chase anyone. The secret? Fruits that last. When you focus on producing results, conflicts resolve themselves, people come to you, and when that happens, you realize it wasn't about them, it was about me. That's how you create the space to address unresolved issues. Now, if you're afraid of upsetting others, understand this. Sometimes it's necessary to disappoint people. Many spend 30 years trying to please everyone, parents, bosses, pastors, and all it does is keep them from living the purpose God placed within them. Let me tell you a personal story. When I wanted to marry Carol, some people in religious circles said it wasn't a good idea. Why? Because she was rich and I was poor. Can you believe that? They tried to plant the idea that our love didn't matter, that the difference in social class would be a problem. But do you know what I did? I didn't listen. Love won. And today I can say that without Carol, I might not be here. I might never have dreamed of becoming wealthy or building something bigger. In fact, the first time I wanted to buy a car, I thought about getting a Volkswagen Beetle with 18-inch rims and suicide doors. My mum tried to stop me, saying, "How are you going to pick up Carol in a luxury condo with that car?" But do you know what happened? Carol never cared about any of that. When we were 16, she used to ride with me on a simple $25 bike and she was happy. She laughed and I thought, this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to marry this woman. That's the point. When you understand what truly matters, fear loses its power. The limiting beliefs that hold you back start to disappear. But pay attention. Beliefs are like ammunition. If you don't know where to aim, you'll waste all your energy. To become invincible, write this down. I am more than a conqueror. Why is this so powerful? Because Jesus already won for us. He died to save us and gave us a kingdom. So why would I aim to be just a conqueror? I'm already more than a conqueror. Think about this. The probability of you being born is 1 in 400 trillion. The fact that you exist is already an incredible victory. It wasn't something you planned or achieved through effort. You made it here. That alone is proof that you've already won. What's left then? Just to accept it. The rest is about facing challenges and moving forward. One time a guy called me and said, "You're saying things I don't like." My response was simple. "Friend, figure that out in your own head. I'm at peace." Because in the end, what matters isn't pleasing everyone. It's living with purpose, bearing fruit, and staying faithful to the calling God placed on your life. It's amazing how people spend more time talking about others than taking care of their own lives. I get questions on Instagram every day like, "Are you a Freemason?" My response is always the same. Why are you so worried about that? It's funny how people make assumptions without knowing anything about what I've been through, the price I've paid, or the effort that's brought me here. No one saw me waking up at 4:30 a.m. every day. No one saw me reading books, giving thousands of talks, or learning from my mistakes. But these same people invent stories to justify what they don't understand. Do you know why people do that? To justify their dissatisfaction with their own lives. The truth is, when you start to grow, people look for something or someone to blame. And if they can't find anything, they'll make something up. But let me tell you something. I know who's truly responsible for everything I've achieved. And it's not my earthly father, it's the eternal Father. He is the source of it all. Now here's a deep reflection. Did you know you can reprogram your mind? That you can choose what to believe and how to react? When I look at a person, even someone labeled a criminal, I don't see what others see. I see a program that was installed in their mind. I'm reminded of Jesus on the cross with 2 men beside him. One mocked and rejected change. The other asked, "Remember me in your kingdom." And Jesus replied, "Today you will be with me in paradise." This teaches me something powerful. You can choose to be reprogrammed. You can decide to leave behind the beliefs and fears that hold you back. Fear is like extra weight in your canoe. It makes you sink instead of float. And do you know what happens when you throw that weight off? The canoe becomes lighter, and you start to flow. Now imagine a bridge you need to cross. That bridge can only hold the weight of your true identity. Anything beyond that, fears, insecurities, worries, will make the bridge collapse. That's why Proverbs 4:7 says, "Sell everything you have and acquire wisdom." This means letting go of fears and burdens that lead you nowhere. Because what you own today, and whether material possessions or even titles, isn't what defines you. What matters is how God has always seen you from the beginning. When you see that, life transforms. The fear of public speaking, the fear of failure, or any other fear starts to seem ridiculous. You realize that the only thing that truly matters is living according to who God created you to be. And when you start confronting your fears, do you know what happens? You laugh at them. Because deep down they never made sense. Fear paralyzes us in so many ways, often without us realizing it. Fear of disappointing someone, fear of trying something new, fear of investing in what you truly believe in. But let me tell you something. Every great step requires courage. I remember a story from Napoleon Hill's book that completely unlocked my mindset. He was afraid of being murdered, running with the only money he had. Do you know what he did? He went to a luxury hotel. He was trembling, afraid of spending everything, but he made that decision. And in that moment he realized fear could no longer control him. That made me think I was called to be a king and a priest. Am I living like one? The truth was I wasn't. I was a good priest, but hadn't yet become a good king, prince, or patriarch. I decided everything had to change. Since then I've started making bold decisions, like investing heavily in what truly matters. A lot of people ask me, how do you have the courage to spend 11 million rays on renovating your house? My answer is simple. Do you know the people who live there? They are the most important people on earth to me. And do you know who unlocked this mindset for me? Flavio Augusto. One day, visiting his house valued at $40 million, I asked, "Why invest so much in a house?" And he replied, "Because the most important people are there." That response etched itself into my mind. It's not about the money.